So my background in sales has been, really just either being on the front lines as an individual contributor or leading teams in sales and coaching and mentoring them to be successful in their trade. I've enjoyed sales over a number of years. I, historically, been in sales most of my life, and certainly enjoy the opportunity to work with customers, to speak with customers, to learn their challenges, and certainly help them get through some of those challenges with products and services that are provided to them. So that's really what what drove me to sales. As I had grown up, with a father that was in sales. It was always part of the family and something that I kind of fell into and has always enjoyed. So my background has been, again, working in mostly software, but I've done things from selling garbage trucks to selling pizza. So growing up in the world of sales has always been part of who I am and what I enjoy, and I think will always be a part of my life going forward. So. Looking for people that are like-minded, focused on customers, and providing a quality product and service to customers that I think are going to help them do their jobs better. So when we have challenges, it's typically about finding the right people that are going to do that, and then certainly resources. As you step into the startup world, resources can be scarce, so sometimes you'll have to do different things, and you're going to have to just pick up the slack where sometimes something may get left. You're not going to necessarily have just one job all the time. You're going to be wearing multiple hats and doing different duties throughout the day, throughout the week. So understanding that and knowing that and being able to tackle that without the resources that maybe a much larger organization would have is certainly a challenge, but it's also allows for a lot of flexibility and freedom as well. There's a number of things that we look for in the sales team. There's obviously industry experience in addition to working in the construction space. So it's sometimes you're not always going to find that, but I think some of the key components to hiring the right people in sales is, are they here because they believe in what we're doing? Do they have the vision, and do they have an understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, and are they excited to come and work and be here every day and be a part of something? What's nice about the startup is, there's many voices that can contribute and have a thumbprint and have a voice to the growth of the company. So I think bringing people in that have fresh ideas, that want to be a voice in the growth of the company, not just in the company itself, but the product and how the product develops, and working with customers, I think is really, really important. So certainly if you think about all the things that go into hiring a good salesperson, certainly there's a competitive side, which I think is always a healthy thing to have in sales. I look to people who have worked on teams, have learned to collaborate, that can work together and solve a problem collectively, have a voice at the table and want to be heard, but at the same time can also accept constructive criticism in order to get better. When you look at somebody that is going to be a good person, somebody who's going to do well in a startup environment, it's really having that open mind and being part of something bigger than themselves, but also having a voice and contributing to the success of the company. So one of the things I think in solving some of the challenges inside a startup organization is having access to your customers, listening to your customers, understanding their challenges. And when we're able to do that, those are going to be the pieces and the keys to success. So when we can understand who our customers are, put the direction of the company and the product, in ahead of the customer, so that we're solving those problems for the customers, I think is certainly one of the ways that we're able to overcome some of the challenges in the startup organization, particularly in sales. So as the product grows and we listen to our customers, their feedback is always critical and key to the development of the product and the direction of the company. So appreciating that feedback, whether it's negative or positive, it's always good to ensure that we have a pulse on what the customer is doing. If we lose that understanding, if we lose that communication, then it makes it very difficult for us to develop a product that's going to be, make a difference and help our customers out in the field. in order to stay successful, I think focus is really the biggest thing that you need to keep in mind when you're in a startup environment. And certainly embracing success over time, because success doesn't come overnight. It's a process that, month over month over month continues to improve. So as long as you know that you're aiming towards something and you're reaching toward that goal, and every month you're improving ways to get there, I think that's really one of the ways to overcome some of the challenges. Just short measurements and improving every day and every month. So staying focused on what those improvements are and how you can always get better. And I think, at least in the sales team, it's important to go out and break a little bit of glass. It's okay to make mistakes, but even more importantly, it's important to learn from those mistakes and to embrace what you've learned, embrace those mistakes, and use those as steps for learning in the process. So those are some of the challenges and some of the things that we do to overcome. And I think one of the biggest things I think in the startup environment that is critical is being able to partner, collaborate, and work very closely with some of the other teams, the cross-functional teams in the organization. And in the organization here at Raken, I've been lucky enough to work with a fantastic group of folks in marketing, which isn't always the case in a lot of organizations. When you have sales and marketing, sometimes they don't always align. We're lucky enough to have clear objectives. We define what those objectives are. We work collaboratively and collectively to ensure that we're aiming and working towards that. And everybody has support. Everybody has a voice. And I think the creativity, the open-ended questions, talking through problems and issues, putting the customer first and solving those issues, and understanding how marketing can support sales and how sales can get information back to marketing is critical. So I think collaborating with the cross-functional teams is absolutely one of the most important things. Also, we work very closely with our customer success team. Some of the things in overcoming the challenges is just listening to the customer, understanding what they're faced with, some of the challenges that they have out in the field, and bring those back and work with our customer success team so that they're aware of what's happening, so that they can also help reach out and ensure that the customer's having tremendous success with the product. So keeping the customer first, thinking about their problems, their challenges, and ensuring that you have a team here to make sure that there's white glove service, always taking care of the customers, because we learn so much from them. They really are another key asset to the growth of the company. So if we're not connecting with the customers, if we don't have access to them and understand what they want in the field, then what's the purpose? So again, I think everybody working internally in conjunction with the customer is really the key to success. Having worked for some very large companies and startups as well, some successful and some not so successful, definitely there's advantages to working at a startup. I think everybody's different. It depends on what you like, but one thing obviously in a startup is you're going to wear a lot of different hats. That could be anything from doing customer service calls to ensure that you're taking care of your customer, to taking the garbage out. So, there's a lot of things that go into working at a startup, but I think some of the advantages are, again, as I had mentioned before, there's flexibility, there's an opportunity to have a voice and a thumbprint and being part of something, and not just stepping into a company that has a culture, but being part of something that's a continued growth in culture. So being part of contributing to that culture. So having flexibility, I think, in being able to pivot quickly, not being bogged down by red tape or process, but building process and learning from that process, and continually refining that, I think is one of the key things in working in a startup. And certainly the ability to walk across the hall and have a discussion with your CEO or the CTO and bring an idea or something to the group is certainly refreshing and nice. So I think there's certainly an advantage to that. You've got the ability to have a voice and not necessarily be tied down by a process that is hardened and red tape and set in stone. So I think that's probably one of the biggest advantages in working in a startup, is just the ability to collaborate and have a voice and have that flexibility.